Top 5 Most Haunting Stories Based of the 1700s. Number 5 Folktales and Ballads by Various Authors. Thomas had heard the stories of the Forbidden City, but he didn't believe in curses. The ruins, buried under centuries of sand, called to him. When he arrived, he found the city eerily silent. The crumbling temples and decaying statues seemed to watch him as he explored. In the city's heart, he found an altar covered in glowing symbols. As he traced them with his fingers, a low hum began to fill the air. Shadows moved at the edge of his vision, and whispers surrounded him. "Leave," they hissed. But Thomas was too curious. He uncovered a hidden chamber beneath the altar, where a glowing artifact pulsed with life. As he reached for it, the shadows coalesced into figures, long-dead inhabitants with hollow eyes and twisted forms. They surrounded him, their whispers now deafening. The air grew cold, and the sand beneath him began to shift, dragging him into the earth. His screams echoed through the city as it reclaimed him. The artifact vanished, and the whispers faded, waiting for the next intruder. Number 4 Phantom's Embrace by Arabian Nights. Every night, Eliza stood at the edge of the sea, waiting for Robert. Months had passed since his ship was last seen, but her heart refused to believe he was gone. One foggy evening, she heard his voice calling her name. She turned to see him standing on the shore, his figure pale and thin. "I've come back to you, my love," he whispered, his voice faint. Overjoyed, she ran to him, but as she embraced him, she felt an unnatural chill. His body was cold and damp, his eyes hollow. "You've waited so long for me," he said. "Come with me now, and we'll never be apart." He held out his hand, but as she looked down, she saw water dripping from his fingers, pooling at her feet. Panic set in, but Robert's grip tightened. The sea rose unnaturally fast, waves crashing around them. From the depths, pale hands emerged, grasping at her dress. Eliza screamed, but her voice was drowned out by the roar of the water. The next morning, her body was found on the shore, her face frozen in terror. Villagers say that on foggy nights, you can still hear her cries mingling with the waves. Number 3. Vathek, The Infernal Treasure by William Beckford. Vathek was a ruler obsessed with power and knowledge. When a mysterious sorcerer offered him a map to a treasure hidden deep beneath the earth, Vathek didn't hesitate. The sorcerer warned him. The treasure came at a cost one he must pay with his soul. Blinded by greed, Vathek dismissed the warning and descended into the labyrinthine caves. The tunnels were suffocating, the air thick with the stench of decay. Strange carvings lined the walls, depicting twisted faces and writhing bodies. As Vathek ventured deeper, he began hearing whispers, faint at first, then louder, surrounding him. They spoke in a language he didn't understand, but their tone was filled with malice. At last, he entered a massive chamber. Gold and jewels piled high glittered in the flickering light of his torch. At its center stood an ornate chest, glowing with an unnatural light. As he reached for it, the whispers turned to screams. The ground beneath him cracked open, and flames erupted, consuming the treasure and revealing a pit of writhing, shadowy figures below. Vathek tried to run, but the flames rose higher, and the figures reached for him with skeletal hands. The sorcerer's voice echoed, "Your greed has damned you." Vathek's final screams echoed through the cave, silenced only when the flames swallowed him whole. Which story has been your favorite so far? Let us know in the comments. Number 2 The Devil's Prayer by Matthew Gregory Lewis. Ambrosio had always been admired for his piety. The people of Madrid believed the monk to be a living saint. Yet, Ambrosio was tormented by forbidden desires he dared not confess, even to himself. One fateful evening, a mysterious figure arrived at the monastery, a veiled woman named Matilda, who claimed to seek refuge. Her presence unnerved him. Her voice seemed to linger in the air, her laughter echoing unnaturally. One night, she revealed her true form, a servant of the devil. She offered Ambrosio the chance to fulfill his every desire in exchange for a single prayer, one that would renounce his faith. Ambrosio hesitated but gave in, his whispered prayer breaking the sacred vows he had held so tightly. As the days passed, the monastery became a place of horrors. Shadows crawled along the walls, whispering his name. At night, Ambrosio was plagued by nightmares of burning fields and howling demons. Matilda's influence grew stronger, and he found himself drawn deeper into her web. When he demanded freedom, she led him to a hidden chamber beneath the monastery. There, a figure cloaked in darkness awaited him, the devil himself. Ambrosio begged for mercy, but the devil only laughed. "You prayed to me, and I have answered," he hissed. As Ambrosio screamed, the chamber walls seemed to close in, flames licking at his robes. When dawn broke, the monastery was silent. Ambrosio was never seen again. Number 1 Whispers of a Tranto by Horace Walpole. The storm raged through the night, the winds howling like restless spirits. Lord Manfred stood on the battlements of the castle of Otranto, staring out into the darkness. For years he had lived under the shadow of a prophecy: the castle will fall when the true heir claims his right. Tonight the air felt heavy, as if the very walls of the castle were whispering the curse back to him. A deafening crash shattered the night. Servants screamed as they rushed to the courtyard, where they found a giant knight's helmet lying in the rubble. The helmet was impossibly large, its metal surface gleaming in the lightning. Manfred's son Conrad, who was to be married that morning, lay crushed beneath it. As the castle mourned, strange occurrences began. Doors slammed shut without wind, shadows moved along the walls, and the ghostly figure of a knight was seen wandering the halls. Manfred became increasingly paranoid, convinced that the prophecy was coming true. Desperate, he locked his daughter Matilda in the tower, believing her innocence could stave off the curse. But the whispers grew louder. One night, Manfred saw the knight's ghost standing in Matilda's room. In a fit of rage and fear, he lunged at the spectre, only to realize he had stabbed his own daughter. As she bled out, her final words were a plea for mercy, for him. The ghostly knight appeared one final time, pointing a gauntleted finger at Manfred before vanishing into the storm. The castle crumbled soon after, taking its cursed lord with it. If you're ready to uncover more terrifying legends, cursed fates, ghostly encounters, and dark stories, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more chilling stories. And don't forget to let us know in the comments which tale gave you the biggest fright. Until next time, stay curious, and maybe keep a light on tonight.